Total Cult.
Hello, you bastards. This is...
That's not a good way to treat our audience.
Why?
Well, not many people respond well to being called bastards.
I don't think
I know
they
this is
mind.
the internet, and you basically there is that kind of distance, and you can say what you want.
I think I opened overly warm previously. I've opened in a way that you found disconcertingly warm and affectionate.
I guess you did say hello. I mean, you didn't just say fuck off.
No, exactly.
And then end the podcast there. So, all right, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
Hello, you bastards. You're listening to Total Cults. I'm James Trick.
I'm Dr. Gogol, and I don't think you're bastards at all.
He does, you know.
I think you're all lovely.
Says awful things about you when you're not here. Today we're talking about monsters.
Yes.
Goopy monsters, slimy monsters, monsters that walk erect.
Yes.
Just to fill you in at this point, we've already done this to a degree, and we had a cock up and we lost the first 10 minutes of the previous podcast. Would you care to summarise what they've lost from these deleted scenes that are lost into the ether by the computer crash?
Really,
No.
we didn't cover that much. We'd only just got on to talking about monsters, really.
I referred back to a previous podcast about James Bond with I'm a monster.
Yeah.
We did that.
A ball of self-loathing.
Yes, exactly. You talked about the Universal monsters.
Well, yeah, just stating that I like...
you're going to do it again?
No, I'm just going to say I like the classic Universal monsters, of which the Mummy is the lesser one, because it is just one zombie wrapped in bog roll.
Yeah.
But also you have the alternative where you have a kind of possession from an ancient spirit, such as in Blood from the Mummy's Tomb, the Hyman one with the very large...
The Hyman one?
The Hyman one.
Hyman films were very, very underrated.
Yes.
They were very influential, weren't they?
Yes.
Hyman films.
But they didn't last long. Once they were gone, they were gone.
No, exactly. Anyway, you're saying Blood from the Mummy's.
Universal monsters are good. Mummy, not so much. Although I think more could be done with the Mummy. I think the Mummy hasn't had his breakout film quite yet.
Right. And in terms of the modern reinvention of it, the Stephen Sommers movies were a kind of a miss. Well, not exactly a misfire. I thought the first one was actually reasonably good as an Indiana Jonesy style brain dead summer entertainment. But they weren't what I would. They weren't the zombie wrapped bug roll thing, which I think is due for.
I do believe the original Mummy film was meant to be a literal adaptation of the original Universal one, and then they decided to make it more of an Indiana Jones adventure at a later date. It was pitched. I think there is even a script on these great unwritten drafts as a straight horror film. But
given that period, it would have probably ended up looking like Van Helsing anyway, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Which, of course, was... I think that's one of the problems with the Universal monsters. Every time somebody goes back and wants to do something with them, it ends up getting sort of contemporarified. And so things like, a lot of that sort of classic iconography got used by something like Van Helsing, and it sort of made it entirely crap for a new generation.
Yeah.
And I think it's a real shame. No one's gone back and really approached any of those with... I thought the Wolfman movie was interesting. The remake,
I know it didn't do particularly well, and there's a lot of detractors, but it's a monster movie. Yeah. One that hasn't only been taken. It's a monster movie that's taken seriously to a degree that it invests interest in the concept, and it's not a joke. It's not just a parade of Halloween masks. This is a monster. He kills people. There is fun to be had with it. It's not a disturbing film. So in that respect, yes, tonally it's a bit all over the place. Yeah. But
I think actually when we saw that, you saw a longer version, or did you see the short one?
No, I saw the short one in the cinema.
I saw the short one, and I wondered if I'd missed certain plot elements.
I saw the short one. Still, based on that, recommended it. Underneath that,
I think I watched it on your recommendation.
It took about 40 minutes to get going.
Yeah.
And then I felt the elongated version actually made that first 40 minutes ironically move faster because it made more sense. It didn't just seem
you got more invested in it,
and
rather than just sitting waiting for the...
Benicio del Toro actually had some lines, and so just looking into various rooms in a house. And I think we need more, and not there's a lot of films that are coming out. There's this one, Monsters Brawl. Have you heard this?
No.
It's a kind of underground wrestling tournament, but with monsters, so a Swamp Thing, and that's all well and good. But I want to see the monsters treated with a bit more respect. I want to see more monster movies. Not just men in aprons hacking off limbs.
Right.
Or lost, lost and found footage films.
Yeah,
I'm not having to go at any of those. I'm just saying there's an absence of monster films. I think The Wolfman not doing so well is going to have hurt that.
They've already announced a sequel,
but I think it might be straight to DVD.
Again? Oh God, right.
Yeah. But having said that, I think why shouldn't there be the Universal Monsters carry on as straight DVD films? They will make money. You don't need a tremendous amount of money to realise them. And such, you could get away. If you could use the same locations for each film.
I mean, do you know if they're doing anything? You mentioned Frankenstein. I can't remember if that was on the start, the full start version, or whether you've done that so far. You haven't yet mentioned that, have you?
Well, I mentioned the classic Universal Monsters, so Frankenstein's in there.
Has Frankenstein actually been attempted as a major thing since the De Niro version, or
No, and I think there is. I mean, there's been versions where it's kind of like a modern day Frankenstein or stuff like that. I think there was a mini series, but it's on, I believe, one of Guillermo del Toro's rapidly increasing film slate.
Right.
He's scheduled to do an adaptation of Frankenstein.
Oh, and there was a play, wasn't there? With Benedict Cumberbatch
and Johnny Lee.
That's it. Benedict Cumberbatch
and
Cumberbatch and Johnny Lee Miller.
Who swapped
that was meant to be awesome. Yeah, it was meant to be really good. And they alternated each night playing either
the creator of monster,
Frankenstein, or
one of the many Frankenstein's
monsters.
Yeah. And incidentally, that's actually what I really love about the Hammer films. Is that the Frankenstein Hammer films? That is that the Frankenstein is quite clear. The bad guy is the creator.
Yes.
And he's the character that keeps coming back. It's not he creates the monsters, killed, and then the monster comes back for more.
Which would be the way they do it nowadays.
Yeah, it's the creator comes back, and he's just an immoral shit.
I saw Frankenstein created women. Frankenstein created women, loads of women, lots and lots of women, and then he never left the cast. No, I didn't actually watch Frankenstein created lots and lots of women, and then he never left the castle. But I did watch Frankenstein created Woman.
Yeah.
It was a good one. Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was very good, very dark little film.
Yeah.
I dug that. I hadn't seen that
one.
Well,
I feel they tend to be the darker the films because it's human psychology. It's not just he's a monster who go around and terrorise a local village and upset the Burgermeister who pops up among them. It's the
Burgermeister?
Burgermeister.
The hell are you talking about?
Well, most of these towns are in a non-specific European town, aren't they? They're sometimes
non-specific European
country.
Right.
Town. And I believe the Burgermeister is a German kind of like mayor or someone who looks after town. He crops up in a number of Hammer films.
That's the character's name?
The Burgermeister.
The Burgermeister.
Yeah. I think there's even one in something like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang or something like that, I believe.
Wow. Okay.
But I completely forgot what I was talking about. Oh no, there's this Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed.
Yeah.
Is where he's on the run from the authorities. There is a local kind of scientist physician who's working in similar but slightly less unethical territory as Frankenstein. He offers to help him. I believe I've got the plot right. It's been a while since I've seen it. And when it is revealed that this person is actually Frankenstein and that actually the work he's now been doing is he's slightly pushed him into unethical waters, he can't necessarily stop because he's being blackmailed. And Frankenstein, as in the creator, essentially takes over this guy's household and with his wife and ruins their lives because he says, if you do anything to give me away, I will, tell the authorities what you've been doing under my, that you're part of this. And there is a monster creation element, but it's so far removed from the main plot line. It's basically about him just shitting all over these people's lives, basically. I think he even sexually assaults the wife.
Oh, charming.
And it's really dark stuff, which is surprising in the Hammer film, which is unfairly, I think, renowned with being a bit camp. Bright red blood and
well, some of them are. I mean, they're a funny old mix. I guess any studio that was as prolific as Hammer were, you do get. There are some that just live the stereotype.
Yeah.
There are Hammer flicks that are completely, big-breasted, bright red blood. Slightly campy, slightly over the top. But then there are other ones, dark little twisted little nuggets in there. Like The Nanny, which I think we've talked about before.
Yes, I do like The Nanny.
Not possibly on the show, but...
it's a good one. So let's think about some of the more outlandish monsters, though. I do enjoy a Minotaur from time to time. Just because they're proper massive creatures. I can see where your brain is going.
I do enjoy a Minotaur from time to time because they're proper massive creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You like that? Give me an example of Minotaurs you've enjoyed.
Well, again, I don't think there's really a definitive Minotaur film, and I think there should be. Take the normal slasher, set up high school, something like that, and
stick a Minotaur in there. And then you'd have, how do you crowbar the maze in? You'd have to have some plot device where they built a maze out the back of the school as a as a community project. Yeah, as a community project, and then the Minotaur gets...
And the disgruntled mythology professor has created a Minotaur and stuck it in the middle.
How do you create a Minotaur?
You get a bull's head,
yes,
a man's body,
yes,
and you stitch them together, and then there's something to do with electricity.
Is that it?
Yeah.
That's it.
He creates a Minotaur. The kids that have been ruining his life and making fun of him, he shoves in there.
Yeah.
And they get chased around this maze.
This sounds great. This actually does sound really good. I'd watch this.
Yeah, I would.
So if you'd like Dr. Gogol to go and make his beloved Minotaur film,
high school film,
just PayPal us basically a few million quid, and and you'll do it. You'll go and make that.
Working title is By the Horns.
By the Horns, yeah, I like that.
But I'm trying to add...
Not getting the horn.
Could be. It could have a kind of Porky's element to it. There could.
No, the horn.
Maybe there could be a shower scene.
Yeah.
A communal shower scene.
Yeah.
Boys at a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
They're enjoying themselves, but then suddenly a Minotaur charges in and gores them all.
That would be really good. Or the horn comes through the hole in the wall.
Gets the eye.
Yeah. He's looking at...
He sees... The Minotaur comes in, there's blood and nudity. The guy hides his eyes. I can't watch. It goes quiet. He slowly looks through... And then,
you can visualise this, can't you?
And then, along with the noise from Bullseye, the bully, that noise comes in, and the horn goes through and pierces his eyeball.
Wow. I think that's an image that people aren't going to forget in a hurry.
That's the opening, and then it goes black, and 3 days later, 3 days prior.
Yeah,
3 days earlier.
3 days earlier.
Yeah.
Getting the horn.
Yeah.
I'm in. Yeah,
okay.
Definitely. So PayPal us the money and we'll make that for you.
Okay, so that's Minotaurs done. Anything else?
So that's the Universal Monsters we've discussed. We've talked about Minotaurs. Small monsters I wanted to address. I had a lot of love for Gremlins. When Gremlins came out in 1984, I thought Gremlins was genius, above and beyond anything else. Loved it to bits. But then... there was a spate of sort of knockoffs that turned up. There was a movie called Ghoulies, which had a great poster, had a little green slimy monster popping out the bog, which is all you really want.
But that put me off as a child.
Why?
I think there was always stories about, I think, because I didn't like spiders,
right?
And I always associate Australia as being planet of the spiders, about spiders being in a toilet bowl,
right?
And so I think, not that I was terrified, but generally things coming out of the toilet upset me a little bit because... It worried me then as a child, when I went to the toilet, that is something going to come out.
Well, it was teamed up with the slogan, "They'll get you in the end," wasn't it?
Yes.
Thus implying...
Which I only just get that now.
Really? You hadn't...
Yeah. So that kind of put me off.
So you were scared of it? You were scared
not
that
terrified,
one was
but I just thought...
Emerge?
I think even as a child, I was aware of my limits. I thought, I don't want to go down there. Down that route. I don't want to watch this film because it might trigger a long time fear, and I think I'll leave
toilets.
Of toilets. So I might leave that, and I'll go and watch something wholesome.
Okay, like RoboCop,
Commando, or Watership Down,
something like that. Yeah, absolutely.